So, if y'all don't know, the topic for our area-wide devotionals this year has been the idea of mic drop moments. And so we're studying about these ideas and looking at these stories where people have said shocking or done shocking things that let them drop the mic, walk off the stage, and act like they've said something big. And it's a realization that blows our minds away. Something that we might know, but we've never heard said that way or that boldly. Or maybe it's some idea that we've never heard of before. And so when I found out that I was speaking at our area-wide and started thinking about these mic drop moments, the one that came to mind for me was not in Scripture, but thinking about mic drop moments in general, came from the Lord of the Rings. If you guys haven't met me, I am a huge nerd. Comic books, Lord of the Rings, D&D, that's my wheelhouse. And so I got to thinking about a mic drop moment in Lord of the Rings, and two in particular that are very closely tied together. The first one that I thought of came from the movie Fellowship of the Ring, the very first in the series. And the moment I'm thinking of is when the Fellowship first gets together and they're looking at the ring, talking about what they should do with it and talking about what their mission should be. Boromir is there talking, saying, hey, we should use this ring to help in our fight. It holds immense power that can make us victors in it. And we see Aragorn, this guy who just appears to be a ranger, helping out in the wilderness, surviving on his own. He says, Boromir, you're wrong. This is something that we should be afraid of. This is something that we should be scared of and something that we should destroy. That should be our mission. And we see Boromir stands up and says, who are you to say something to me? I'm steward of Gondor, or in line to be steward of Gondor. What does a ranger know about this? And we see Legolas stand up and say, Boromir, you need to listen to him because he's rightfully heir to the throne that you're falsely sitting on right now. And we see silence fall over the crowd with this realization that, hey, this Aragorn guy, he's more important than we thought that he was. He wasn't just this ranger who knew how to protect a couple of hobbits. He was someone important, someone who knew a thing or two, someone who was able to do something immensely important later on down the road. And then when we come to the Return of the King, the third movie in the series, third book in the series, we see another mic drop moment with Aragorn where he rightfully assumes his place as king of Gondor and leads the army of humans into battle. We see this mic drop moment where Aragorn finally fesses up and says, this is my place to be, leading you. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to lead you into battle. I'm going to be on the front lines, and I'm going to make sure we see this through. The mic drop moments that I tend to think of, whether it's in Lord of the Rings or whether it's in other media, are the moments where someone steps up and says, this is me, this is who I am, and this is what I'm meant to do. And so what I want you to do tonight is keep that idea in the back of your mind. The mic drop moment we're talking about is about Jesus identifying himself and saying, this is me, this is who I am, and this is what I'm meant to do. So if you want to, turn over to Matthew chapter 21. That's where we're going to be studying out of tonight. Matthew chapter 21. And so, background you need to know before we get to the parable we're about to read. Jesus has walked into Jerusalem. It's the last week of his life. He knows at the end of the week he's going to be crucified. And so he's spending this week teaching people about the truth of who he is, about how people should be living their lives and striving to live with God. And a couple of Pharisees come up and they say, Jesus, who are you to be teaching us? And so Jesus responds with the parable, and he says, you guys aren't ones to be questioning me. And then we're going to follow up with this second parable, Matthew chapter 21, starting in verse 33. Hear another parable. There was a master of a house who planted a vineyard and put a fence around it and dug a winepress, and in it built a tower and leased it to tenants and went into another country. When the season for fruit drew near, he sent his servants to the tenants to get his fruit. And the tenants took the servants and beat one, killed another, and stoned another. Again he sent other servants more than the first, and they did the same to them. Finally he sent his son to them, saying, they will respect my son. But when the tenants saw the son, they said to themselves, this is the heir. Come, let us kill him and have his inheritance. And they took him and they threw him out of the vineyard and they killed him. When therefore the owner of the vineyard comes, what will he do to those tenants? They said to him, he will put those wretches to a miserable death and let out the vineyard to other tenants who will give him the fruits in their seasons. So, I want us to keep this story in the back of our minds. This story is super important. Jesus is identifying who he is, but I want us to listen to what Jesus has to say after this parable, because it really kind of fills in the blanks of the story he just told. So continuing in verse 42, Jesus is responding to their answer saying, hey, the father is going to kill those tenants, get his fruit, get what money he can, and then lease it out to someone next season. And so Jesus responds to their answer saying, have you never read in the scriptures that the stone that the builder rejected has become the cornerstone? This was the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes. To understand the full context of what Jesus is saying here, we have to understand the scripture that he is quoting and the thing that he is saying to them. So if you want, turn over to Psalm 118. Psalm 118. So what you need to know about this psalm is the author of this psalm is writing about a battle where he was surrounded. Him and his men were surrounded on all sides, and their other army was bigger, stronger, and stood a much greater chance at winning. They were surrounded. They had nowhere to go, and there was no chance for this army, this captain that's riding, to win the battle. And him and his men are standing around. They're looking at their enemy around them, and they say a prayer. They call out to God. They say, God, please be faithful to us. We have been faithful to you. Help deliver us. Help us make it out. Help us make it to the other side. And we read through and we find out, hey, God does help these people. These men who are surrounded by armies that are much bigger, much stronger, much better fighters make it out. God delivers them from their enemy. And so we see the story go on. It doesn't just end with the battle of victory. Psalm 118, starting in verse 19. We see the psalmist here say, open to me the gates of righteousness, that I may enter through them and give thanks to the Lord. This is the gate of the Lord, the righteous shall enter through it, and I thank you that you have answered me and become my salvation. The stone that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. This is the Lord's doing, it is marvelous in our eyes. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. The story we see in verses 19 through 24 of Psalm 118 is this army captain who had been victorious in a battle that he did not, by all accounts, would not have been victorious in. He's delivered by God. And the first thing that we see him do is he goes home. He doesn't stop off, see his wife and kids, have dinner. He doesn't take a shower. He doesn't get clean. The first thing that we see him do is he goes to this gate of righteousness. And if you don't know what the gate of righteousness is, this is the entrance to the temple. The first thing that we see this guy do is he goes to God's house to worship him. And he makes note of this gate of righteousness because this is the way in. This is your way into the temple. This is your way into the presence of God. And he notes specifically that, hey, there was this cornerstone that's important, and this has been set aside for this specific gate. And this gate is important because it's your way to get close to God. It's your way to be in His presence. It's your way to be in His power, and it's your way to worship Him. When we look at this idea of cornerstone, the idea that's being presented here is this is the foundation of the gate. This is the thing that holds the gate steady. This is the thing that makes sure that the gate stays there and that your entrance into God stays there. And when we go back to Matthew chapter 21, what he's saying is, hey, I am that cornerstone of the gate of righteousness. You guys hear this psalm, you guys read this psalm, sing this psalm all the time. And you guys aren't thinking, you guys have rejected me. You guys are putting me aside, but I want you guys to know that I'm the cornerstone of the gate of righteousness. I'm your way into the presence of God. When we go back to Matthew 21, that's what Jesus is saying. He's saying, I am your way in. I am your way to have relationship. I am your way to be face to face and in the presence of God. Well, let's turn back over to Matthew chapter 21, because that's not where Jesus ends this thought. He says, I'm the cornerstone. I'm your way into the presence of God. I'm the way to have relationship with Him. Then he continues, Matthew 21, verse 43. Therefore, I tell you, the kingdom of God will be taken away from you and given to a people producing its fruits. And the one who falls on this stone will be broken to pieces, and when it falls on anyone, it will crush him. Now, there's another reference here. It's not a direct quote, but Jesus is referencing another Bible story that these Pharisees, these people challenging His authority, would have known super, super well. Turn over to Daniel chapter 2. This is one of our go-to stories about dreams. And Jesus is looking at them and He's saying, remember this story and remember what it's about. And so when we get to Daniel chapter 2, the story that we see is Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Persia, has this dream. And it terrifies him. He sees a statue that is made out of lots of different, very important materials: gold, silver, bronze, iron. And he sees this statue, and he sees a giant stone the size of a mountain comes in, crushes this statue at its feet, and he is absolutely terrified. He doesn't know what this dream means. He doesn't know what it means for him, his kingdom, his people. And so he wants someone to tell him what this dream means. And so he brings a lot of people in and they say, okay, tell us the dream. And he's like, no, this is too important. If you know what this dream means, you will know what the dream is to begin with. And so we see a lot of soothsayers, a lot of people who interpret dreams walk away from this saying, hey, we don't know. But we see Daniel, a prophet of God, comes forward and tells Nebuchadnezzar, hey, this is what your dream means. Tells him, hey, this is the dream. You saw this statue made out of different materials, and you saw a huge stone come in and destroy it. And what we see is Daniel tell the story of what the dream means. Daniel chapter 2, starting in verse 36. This was the dream. Now we will tell the king its interpretation. You, O king, the king of kings, to whom the God of heaven has given the kingdom, the power, and the might, and the glory, and into whose hand He has given, wherever they dwell, the children of man, the beasts of the field, and the birds of the heavens, making you rule over them all. You are the head of gold. Another kingdom inferior to you shall arise after you, and yet a third kingdom of bronze which shall rule over all the earth. And there shall be a fourth kingdom, strong as iron, because iron breaks into pieces and shatters all things. And like iron that crushes, it shall break and crush all these. And as you saw the feet and toes, partly of potter's clay and partly of iron, it shall be a divided kingdom. But some of the firmness of iron shall be in it, just as you saw iron mixed with the soft clay. And as the toes and feet were partly iron and partly clay, so shall the kingdom be partly strong and partly brittle. As you saw the iron mixed with the soft clay, so they will not mix with one another in marriage, but they will not hold together, just as iron does not mix with clay. And in the days of those kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom that shall never be destroyed, nor shall the kingdom be left to another people. It shall break into pieces all these kingdoms and bring them to an end, and it shall stand forever. Just as you saw that a stone was cut from a mountain by no human hand, that it broke into pieces the iron, the bronze, the clay, the silver, and the gold. A great God has made known to the king what shall be after this. This dream is certain, and its interpretation is sure. So when we go back to Matthew chapter 21, Jesus is looking at the Pharisees, and He says, hey, that way into God, that gate of righteousness that you enter in when you go to the temple to be in the presence of God, I'm the foundation of that. I am your way into relationship with God. I am your way into His presence, and I am your way in to worship Him. And then he follows this up with this dream that Daniel interprets. And he says, you know that stone that tore down the statue, that destroyed everything, this new kingdom that God is going to be setting up, this kingdom that's going to shatter all other kingdom, that's going to be greater than all other kingdoms? Guess what? I'm here to make it happen. I'm here to make it happen. That kingdom that's greater than Rome, that's greater than Israel, greater than Persia, Greece, any of the other powerhouses of the world. That's what I'm here doing. And Jesus looks at them and he says, you know who I am. You know what I'm here to do. Going back to the parable that Jesus was just talking about, the story that Jesus just told. What Jesus was saying is, hey, God has leased out to you guys this field. It is your job to take care of. It is your job to be in charge of. And it is your job to give everything back to God, everything that's due to Him. The glory, the praise, the honor. You're supposed to give that back to Him. And guess what? God said He wanted that. And so He sent prophets. He sent out servants to say, hey, give God what's due to Him. Give Him the praise, give Him the glory, give Him the honor, give Him the respect that is due to God. And the Pharisees, the Jews, they didn't listen. And so God said, okay, I'll send more servants, I'll send more prophets, I'll send more righteous kings to rule over you, to guide you, to hopefully get you to give me the things that are due to me, the glory, the praise, the honor, the relationship I want with you. And they still don't do it. And so eventually God, like the owner of the land in the parable, says, okay, I'm going to send my son. And hopefully they'll listen to him. Hopefully when my son comes, there will be enough respect on his name, enough respect on his position, that they'll listen to him. And Jesus says, I'm that son. I've come with all the power. I've come with all the authority. I've come with the ring on my hand that symbolizes my family that my Father gave me to show you that I am important, to show you that you owe Him the respect, the praise, the honor, the relationship. And just like the tenants in the parable, you're going to kill me. But guess what? Pharisees, I am the gate of righteousness. I am your way to enter into the presence of, to enter into relationship with God. And I'm here setting up the foundation, setting up a kingdom that's stronger than Rome, stronger than Babylon and Persia ever was, and stronger than Israel will ever be. That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here to do. Just like when we saw Legolas step up and say, hey, this is Aragorn, king of the city that you are laying claim to right now. The crowd fell silent when Jesus claimed his authority. When Jesus said, hey, I am your way into this relationship and I am setting up the kingdom. I am king of this kingdom. And Jesus dropped the mic. Jesus said, this is who I am. This is what I'm here to do. And if you don't like it, that's too bad, because I've done it. And so, guys, I'm not sure where you're at. I'm not sure if you've heard Jesus tell this story, if you've heard this about Jesus yet. But if not, guess what? I want you to hear it now. If you're seeking out a relationship with God, if you want to be in His presence, if you want to be a part of this kingdom, Jesus told you exactly who He was, exactly what He was here to do. And the water's ready if you want to become a part of that kingdom, if you want to step into that gate of righteousness, put Jesus on in baptism, and enter into the presence of God. That's ready for you, and that is an option. And if you're someone who's stepped into that gate already, but you've you've lost your way, you've stumbled, you've fallen, and you want to make your relationship right with God, make your relationship right with Jesus again. We're here to love you, we're here to wrap our arms around you, and we're here to pray for you. If you need anything, please come now as we stand and as we sing.